making headlines. The President approves the establishment of tobacco cessation clinics across all islands and cities nationwide. The President ratifies the Urban Development Act. And the Cabinet of Ministers approved the Maldives' membership in the Asia-Pacific Regional Forum on Health and the Environment.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to PSM News in English with me, Idham Naim. President Dr. Mohamed Moise, upon the recommendation of the Cabinet, approves the establishment of tobacco cessation clinics across all islands and cities nationwide.
President Dr. Moise approved the establishment of tobacco cessation clinics nationwide during the Cabinet's meeting held on Sunday, following a detailed review of a proposal submitted by the Ministry of Health. In accordance with this decision, the President authorized the provision of all necessary medications to support individuals seeking to quit tobacco use. These medications will be made available through the State Trading Organization (STO) at all city and at all hospitals. Additionally, tobacco cessation services will be classified as preventative healthcare services. As part of his administration's comprehensive tobacco cessation strategy, the President has already implemented several reforms. These include amendments to the Tobacco Control Act and the Export-Import Act, which have resulted in increased levies on cigarettes, electronic smoking devices, and their consumption. These legislative changes are designed to contribute to a sustainable reduction in tobacco use within a 4-year period.
President Dr. Mohamed Moise ratifies the Urban Development Act. The bill was passed by Parliament on November 27, 2024.
The primary objective of the Urban Development Act is to establish a comprehensive legal framework for defining urban areas, including their zoning, categorization, land use, and development standards. It also aims to regulate the planning, implementation, and monitoring of urban development projects across the Maldives to ensure orderly, sustainable, and legally compliant urban growth. It additionally aims to pave the path for increased public engagement during the phases of development. Under the Urban Development Act, President Dr. Moise, upon the recommendation of the Cabinet, will formulate the national policy for urban area development in the Maldives. The responsibility for implementing these policies is assigned to the government ministry responsible for urban development, currently the Ministry of Housing, Land and Urban Development. Following the enactment of the Act, an Urban Development Authority will be established to oversee the preparation of the Urban Area Development Master Plan for designated urban areas. This authority will also be tasked with granting development permissions and facilitating the implementation of development activities by developers within these areas. It will operate under the ministry responsible for implementing infrastructure policies. According to the Act, 3 types of areas can be designated as urban areas in the Maldives. These include metropolitan areas, urban regions, and urban centers. Despite the enactment of the bill, it does not include developing certain areas such as historic and preserved sites, natural landscapes and resources, as well as types of plants which are protected. Following the ratification of the bill, the Urban Development Act has now been enacted and published in the Government Gazette. It will come into effect 6 months from the date of ratification and publication.
The Cabinet of Ministers has approved the Maldives' membership in the Asia-Pacific Region Forum on Health and Environment, APRFHE. The decision was made during a Cabinet meeting following a proposal presented by the Ministry of Health.
Membership in the Asia-Pacific Regional Forum on Health and the Environment is expected to bring several advantages to the Maldives. These include enhanced collaboration with member states, regional cooperation in developing and implementing health and environmental policies, and strengthened advocacy to mitigate the impact of environmental challenges on the country's well-being. Additionally, the forum will facilitate the integration of digital health solutions into health and environmental care services, supported by access to technical expertise. Through the forum's knowledge network, the Maldives will benefit from academic initiatives and the ability to assess public health risks associated with toxic pollutants and climate change. This collaborative framework will also promote joint efforts in tackling these challenges. Furthermore, the membership is anticipated to expand opportunities for technical training, which will be actively encouraged. The Asia-Pacific Regional Forum on Health and the Environment was established in 2004, aimed at addressing the threats posed by environmental hazards to human health. The forum purports to foster greater interaction between relevant government sectors, facilitating the exchange of knowledge and best practices. It also advocates for policies and measures to safeguard public health from environmental risk factors and encourages the involvement of other sectors such as transport, education, energy, and trade to prioritize health within the frameworks of the Sustainable Development Goals, the Paris Agreement, the Minamata Convention, and other international and regional initiatives. Serving as chair of the regional forum is a voluntary role for member states. This highlights the Maldives' commitment to the forum's objectives and activities. Additionally, membership in the forum does not impose any direct financial accountability on the state or the public.
President Dr. Mohammad Moise announces the decision to establish health centers in 6 wards of Malé City and in the atolls, aiming to provide primary healthcare and general practitioner services to citizens. The decision was made by the President at a cabinet meeting following a discussion of a proposal submitted by the Ministry of Health.
During the meeting, President Dr. Moise, on the recommendation of the Cabinet, instructed that the plan to introduce primary health care and general practitioner services must be implemented before the end of the year. With this decision, the Ministry of Finance, the Ministry of Health, and the Ministry of Social and Family Development will actively collaborate to ensure that the services are introduced with minimal wastage. Furthermore, the President has also decided to expedite the process by inspecting existing buildings to reduce the time required to establish centers in the Malé region and regional cities, as well as to shorten waiting times for specialist consultations and other services. The administration has taken significant steps to address the challenges facing the healthcare sector in the country. In line with this, the Dharmawanta Hospital has been upgraded to a tertiary care facility, and President Dr. Moise recently inaugurated Hurumale Hospital as a tertiary care center, offering a range of new services as well.
The government proposes an amendment to the Drugs Act aimed at confiscating money and property derived from the drug trade.
The bill introduced on behalf of the government by parliamentarian Yusuf Nasheed seeks to enhance the powers of law enforcement agencies to tackle drug possession, use, and related crimes, while also strengthening the treatment system for drug addicts to facilitate their reintegration into the society. Key provisions include the regulation of newly controlled drugs, additional drug-related offences and penalties, and a review of drug court operations. The amendment also proposes increase in the membership of the National Drug Control Council, which currently has 12 members. The amendment to Section 161 of the Act mandates the forfeiture of property and money seized in drug offences to the state. This includes assets used for or obtained through criminal activities. The bill further requires courts to order the forfeiture of money and property linked to drug offences, even if the defendant is not convicted of trafficking. Additionally, the amendment strengthens the power of custom officers and police to combat drug smuggling into Maldives by sea and air.
Maldives Monetary Authority MMA reveals that 98 parties have applied to obtain a license to engage in foreign currency exchange activities under the new regulation on foreign currency.
MMA opened the application window for interested parties on October 2nd with a submission deadline of November 30th. During this period, the central bank reported that 98 parties applied for licenses, with 79 requesting for Tier 1 licenses. Of these, 44 are first-time applicants while 35 are previous license holders. Those granted Tier 1 licenses will be authorized to purchase and sell foreign currency. Additionally, 19 entities applied for Tier 2 licenses, with 5 applying for the first time and 14 being previous license holders. Presently, there are 212 licensed money exchange businesses, including 49 first-time applicants. A Tier 2 license allows the sale of foreign currency exclusively to resorts. The MMA further stated that businesses applying for licenses under the new regulations may continue their operations until they are issued new licenses and until further directives are issued by the authority.
The Housing Development Corporation (HDC) announces the availability of 10 additional plots of land for sale in Hulumale Phase 2. These plots are located along the beachfront and beach side of the second phase, with 3 plots on the beachfront and 7 plots on the beach side.
HDC disclosed that the beachfront plots will range in size from 1,559 to 3,215 acres, while the beachside plots will range from 1,230 to 1,534 acres. The land is situated near the area designated for kiosks allocated to commercial snack vendors. The start bidding price for the beachfront land is $291, and for the beachside land, it is $258.94. Applicants are permitted to apply for more than one plot. Eligibility to participate in the bidding process is open to individuals aged 18 or older. However, only Maldivian nationals may apply, and bids will be accepted exclusively from companies with 100% Maldivian ownership. Earlier this month, the HDC also made 8 plots of land available for sale for various purposes. As part of the master plan for Hulumale Phase 2, the HDC is allocating land for mixed residential or private housing projects, as well as for special buildings intended for various business purposes.
The Senate of the political party Progressive Party of Maldives (PPM) decides to dissolve the party.
A statement released by the PPM outlined that the political party registered at the Elections Commissions of Maldives (ECM) under the name Progressive Party of the Maldives (PPM) was currently running as a coalition. PPM stated that it was unreasonable for the party to be managed under a separate leadership, as its coalition party, the ruling People's National Congress (PNC), is managed under a similar mindset and policies. Additionally, several PPM members are joining the ruling party as well. Therefore, the 3 vice presidents and the secretary of PPM signed and passed the resolution to dissolve the party in accordance with the law. The decision to dissolve PPM was finalized with the unanimous votes of the 42 members who attended the Senate meeting. PPM was established in 2011 during the tenure of former President Maumoon Abdul Gayoom.
The Nasdaq and S&P 500 ended higher on Monday, boosted by tech-related shares after the market posted a strong November, with investors awaiting this week's economic data, including the key monthly jobs report on Friday.
The Dow was down slightly on the day. Both the Dow and S&P 500 recorded their biggest monthly percentage gains in a year on Friday.
This stock market, continues to melt up. The key catalyst was the election, and the real thing that investors are looking forward to is a potential corporate tax reduction. We have a 7,000 target on the S&P, assuming the corporate tax rate goes to 18%. And most investors don't appreciate the direct impact on earnings and the growth rate of both earnings and the economy. So that's the real upside, and that's why we think the market will continue to grind higher, particularly next year as we get more visibility on how big that corporate tax reduction is going to be.
The Dow Jones Industrial Average fell 128.65 points, or 0.29%, to 44,782. The S&P 500 gained 14.77%, or 0.24%, to 6,047.15, and the Nasdaq Composite gained 185.78 points, or 0.97%, to 19,403.95.
So our target of 7,000 in the S&P is absolutely dependent on an 18% corporate tax rate. If there is no corporate tax cut, which would be surprising but possible, then we would have only a 6,600 target in the S&P, which is in line with really The overall target in the street, most strategists are 6,500, 66, and just simply reflects where it's roughly 6,000 right now, about a 10% increase, which is the expected earnings increase on the S&P, and also happens to be the normal increase is right around 10%.
Trump's potential plans for tax cuts and deregulation are seen as likely to lift the market, while tariffs would be negative.
U.S. Ambassador to the UN and December's UN Security Council President Linda Thomas-Greenfield stressed the critical humanitarian situation in Gaza during a press briefing on Monday.
Expressing that the situation in Gaza is dire, the U.S. ambassador added that they are not in any way playing down how dire the situation is. She added that the U.S. is on the ground every single day, working to find a solution.
As I said in my remarks, our diplomatic efforts continue. I can't tell you exactly where the talks are. I can tell you that those efforts are continuing to be made with the hopes that we can get to a resolution. And on the humanitarian situation, again, the situation is dire. We are not in any way playing down how dire the situation is, but we're also on the ground every single day working to find a solution, working to ensure that food and other necessary assistance is being delivered to the Palestinian people. And more needs to be done in that area, and we're going to continue to work on that.
Thomas Greenfield said the U.S. is working towards a diplomatic solution in Gaza.
The situation in Gaza will be at the top of our focus. We will continue our relentless diplomacy to bring an end to this conflict and bring the remaining hostages home. We will continue to work around the clock to alleviate the suffering of the Palestinian people.
The U.S. is also monitoring the situation in Lebanon closely to ensure that agreement on the ceasefire continues to be honored.
Newly appointed manager Ruud van Nistelrooy is aiming to bring a sense of positivity to Leicester City and quickly make an impression on the Premier League club's players as he looks to ensure they remain in the English top flight.
The former Manchester United striker was appointed on Friday to replace Steve Cooper and will need to hit the ground running, with the 16th placed club hovering just a point above the relegation zone after 3 straight league defeats. Asked if the players needed to be picked up, Van Nistelrooy told reporters that it is what needed to be done.
Yesterday was the first time I met the players and staff and members. Everybody here was working, and I had a meeting with the players, and it was the first thing to address the situation that we're in and the challenge that we're facing and what's necessary to get out of that situation where we're in. Obviously, with the run of results over the last weeks and the Brentford game, it's up to reacting and clarity about how we're going to do things. And of course, in 2 days, it's difficult to make a lot of changes, but as a staff, we started to make the changes that we think are necessary in the style of play and in the training sessions and in the structure of the team. But little by little, it's time to build a foundation of a highly motivated, fit team that can compete in this difficult league.
Leicester have a tough run of fixtures coming up in December, including matches against Brighton and Hove Albion, Newcastle United, Liverpool and Manchester City. The Foxes enjoyed a stunning Premier League title success in 2016, but were relegated in 2023 before coming straight back up under Enzo Maresca, who then left to join Chelsea. Van Nistelrooy, who started his coaching career at PSV Eindhoven in 2022, last month left his role as interim coach at United, where he led the side to 3 victories and a draw in all competitions. The 48-year-old said his short stint in charge of the Manchester club worked wonders for his profile.
The lush river valleys of El Zaino y La Arenosa in western Panama, home to hundreds of families that eke out a living farming, fishing and raising cattle, could soon be submerged by a massive man-made reservoir designed to ensure the viability of the Panama Canal in the face of a changing climate.
Tres Hermanas, with its farms, 2 schools, churches, and a medical clinic, is one of dozens of towns that would disappear in the next years if the state-owned Panama Canal's ambitious $1.6 billion project goes ahead. While the Rio Indio Dam project was first proposed 2 decades ago, more extreme weather in the last decade, including a severe drought in the past year that restricted vessel traffic on the canal, has lent greater urgency to the proposal. The canal accounts for 3.1% of the Central American country's gross domestic product. The waterway, which allows up to 14,000 ships to cross per year, accounts for 2.5% of global seaborne trade and is critical to U.S. imports of autos and commercial goods by container ships from Asia, and for U.S. exports of commodities, including liquefied natural gas (LNG). The project still needs to pass a long approval process, including a public consultation, discussion by the Cabinet, and the National Assembly's final green light. The Canal Authority aims to create a massive dam 840 meters in length and 80.5 meters in height to secure the fresh water for its locks. If it wins approval, the dam is expected to be completed by 2030 or 2031, but the clock is ticking. Last year was the 3rd driest in the waterway's 110-year history. According to an initial survey by the canal, the project would demand the relocation of some 2,260 people and would impact at least partially an additional 2,000 people in the reservoir zone.
That's it for now. Thank you for watching PSM News.
For over 30 years, we have been getting stronger and faster. We have been expanding our network across the globe. In the Middle East and Northern Africa, we have Sister Union, Arab States Broadcast.